I really appreciate you. I've been wanting to connect and just happen to do it on a podcast and share your wisdom. Yeah, so what's been percolating for me is like shamanistic sex, but I know there's different types of sex, but I know that a lot of times and I probably used to too, only thought of like procreative or recreational or like for fun, even if you don't want to necessarily like make some babies. Can we talk about the four different types of sex?
Yeah. Well, you already touched on two.
Oh,
So,
okay.
um, procreation and regenerate is really about, what we are told in school to
Mm,
make babies.
mm-hmm.
The biological process of sex that every human is wired, you know. Um, recreational, which you also touched on, for fun,
Yeah.
which we find in high school. And probably for the rest of our lives is kind of where most people work with sex.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the next level of sex um, is for restoration.
Mm.
So it's like a healing kind of sex, you know. Probably you've heard of maybe you've been to work or you got with your girlfriends and like, wow, did you just have sex? Did you get laid? Because you look like you went on a vacation.
Mm,
There's like
mm,
a sense of like you're just vibrant and radiant and
mm-hmm.
restored, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the fourth level of sex is transformational. And so this is the, you know, meeting God sex,
Mm,
the dissolving of self and uniting with
mm.
all of life. Um, and so this can get more towards the shamanistic level of
Yeah.
sex.
I'm curious. So, where does the sex, like, I've had an experience or a couple of them actually, where it's like, I guess it felt healing, and very connected, but like, yeah, crying, like release or something. So I'm like, does it start as one type and then kind of meld, or do they, kind of merge into like a little thing or?
Yeah, I mean, I'm one of those people who doesn't like to say it's just like
Oh,
this.
okay.
Life, in my opinion, life is the gray zone.
Mm-hmm.
The our minds are the ones that make it into a map and put it
Mm-hmm.
into a dot and put it in
Mm-hmm.
between a box. Um, but yeah, I mean, they all can coexist. I mean, the act of sex was made for reproduction,
Mm-hmm.
but in order for us to reproduce, it was also made for us to feel recreational, which is like
Mm-hmm.
juicy and like I want it and I need it,
Mm,
like the part
yeah.
that's like hungry for it.
Mhm.
Um, and then we're also souls, right? And spirits. So that's the part that goes more into like the restoration, like where the body can rest, where we
Mm,
can let go of the stress, where we can let go of what we've been holding on to and allow more life to come in.
mm,
And in the transformational, so yeah, you can have them all happening at the same time.
mm,
The transformational can look like releasing trauma in the middle of
mm,
it, or being in ecstatic bliss and joy where you're crying, but it's in happiness,
mhm,
or sadness, right?
mhm,
Or past life. I've had what we would call transformational sex, which tends to kind of be what people think tantra is,
mhm,
and it can be. Um, where, I'm just holding my beloved and they're crying out of
mhm,
nowhere. And just
mm,
the right words are coming out of my mouth to support the
mm,
process. And it just feels like there's a union where there is no longer me and other, but we become
mm,
one.
mhm. Okay, so that, I guess, kind of makes it doesn't necessarily have to be like a penetrative type of sex for it to be like transformational or right?
That's a good distinction.
Well, yeah, because I'm now envisioning you like holding someone and speaking and becoming one.
Mm.
And then like a little memory surge of like, of being held as well. And then I've also had like, different body work sessions too,
Yeah.
both with and without like any, penetration or yoni stimulation.
Internal work.
Internal work. Yeah. I'm like, I don't know the exact language or to use. Um, and those have just been so mind blowing and so, both like a reclamation and um, increasing the capacity to feel both like emotionally and sensationally. Um, that I'm like, more people need to know about this. So I would love to just like, if there's anything other, like any more tidbits or insights or practices to expand on that transformational sex.
Yeah. I mean, one thing that could distinguish transformational sex is, in some ways, we started with the directions, right?
Mm,
So, some
mm-hmm,
way of intentionally setting space, like we're going to go there,
mm-hmm,
right? It could happen outside of that, spontaneously because of the connection.
mm-hmm,
But often when we're doing it as a practice, it would have that element of, okay, we're going to get together and we're going to have this intention, right? My
mm-hmm,
intention is to heal my blocks and feel more connected, whatever that intention may
mm-hmm,
be. Setting up a sacred space, doesn't have to look like what I said, but some version of calling in a higher power to hold
mm-hmm,
us and work through us. And then we like to say there's the three keys of Tantra and energy work is breath, sound, and movement. So if we're using our breath, if, like you said, when we're doing the directions, you're like, there's something about
mm-hmm,
that breath that made me feel more grounded. The breath is key. I mean, I would even say the breath is one of our most constant sexual acts,
mm,
right? And by that, I mean, there's an element to breath that when we breathe in, we're being penetrated by life.
mm-hmm,
The oxygen is coming into our bodies
mm-hmm,
and taking up space
mm,
and giving us life. And then when we exhale, we penetrate life. And
mm,
so this is also when we speak or sing, this is breath coming out to
mm,
penetrate life, to touch and affect life. And
mm,
so that in and of its own is a sexual act,
mm-hmm,
right? From a higher sense,
mm-hmm,
which is this give and receive, right? The giving, the penetration, and the being penetrated. And so by doing that, we're activating our energy. Um, when we bring sound, we bring vibration,
mm-hmm.
aliveness. And with the movement, we're allowing the body to be activated. And so sex often is very interrelated with movement. Right? You
Mm-hmm.
can't just sit still. I mean, you can. There are practices where the masculine stays still and the
Mm,
feminine goes into the wild, but
mm,
there's still a movement happening.
mhm,
And so when all three happen, then we're able to really move what we call the life force energy or the sexual energy.
mhm.
Um, and so if we're doing it in partnership with another, then it's really moving the energy between the two.
Guys, we just had a little weather interruption. I guess it's raining and thunderstorming outside, which I love. I love feeling the rain on my skin. Um, but so we're kind of sliding back in and picking up where we left off. And I think we were talking about solo practices and as it pertains like transformative, like sex practices. So I didn't know if there's anything you want to throw in there.
I
Any?
mean, let's slide right in.
Okay.
Yeah, I touched on it a little bit, and it's
Mm-hmm.
this vertical axis.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we're practicing with ourselves, especially the Taoist traditions have really not awesome practices that I practice, like the microcosmic orbit.
Mm-hmm.
When basically it's like we're breathing the energy of heaven down, allowing heaven or the light to come and penetrate, fill our bodies, circulating it through our body, and then sending it out on the exhale into the earth. And so it's kind of like creating a bigger circuit with
Mm-hmm.
nature.
Mm-hmm.
Some people like to do it with nature.
Mhm. Yeah, I know, I'm like, I just did that with a mountain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's really guided by the breath, by the intention and the energy. So where we put our attention is where our energy flows.
Mm,
And so if we're focusing on a mountain, for example, which I've done as well,
mm,
or a tree or the land, you bring your intention there and you draw your energy towards it.
mhm,
You open yourself to it. Right? One of my most powerful experiences was doing that in the polarity of the masculine as the one that's penetrating.
mm,
And I was also the mountain where I don't know what you would call it. It's like a big rock
mhm,
formation. And I remember this sense of the energy just kept going. It's like more I gave, the more she would receive. And it just kept receiving more and more of me, and then more and more of me wanted to be given. And I had like this huge energetic cock, went all the way to the core of the earth. Um, and it was quite out of this world, you know. Um, so that's one way. So it's this microcosmic orbit, using the breath, using your intention and moving it. Right. And it can even be a small orbit within your own self where you just breathing out through the root and then bringing it up to your crown and feeling that cycle going on.
See, I've done that, and I've done it like I guess I've said more. I like the distinction of like the masculine intention. I've done it in a more receptive way too, like where I'm like, allowing we're visualizing like the mountain or energy, like being more penetrative and like coming in up, and then like just kind of circulating it back and solo too. But I'm like, does it matter? I guess which direction you're circulating in, or is there feminine and masculine distinction between those? Or
There are, and there isn't.
yeah.
Like, yeah, I teach this a lot in some of the retreats I do, the energetic sex.
I love that. Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it. And so I'd say in the beginning, it's good to pick a pole because it allows you to focus the energy. And especially if you've never done it or you don't do it that much, it's important to get a hang of it. Be like, oh, this is how it works. This is how it feels in my body. Because everyone feels it, slightly different because we all experience life differently. We experience through our own lens and not through our own senses. And so I would say if we are playing the poles, the masculine penetrates through their lingam, through their sex. So penetration, like we were talking about with the breath, is on the exhale. So as I exhale in the masculine, I am feeling the energy move out through my lingam, through my sex center. And when I'm inhaling, I am being penetrated in my heart. So the masculine pole receives the energy, is penetrated into their heart. Right. And so in the feminine, it's the opposite. So the feminine is penetrated, breathes in through their sex, and the feminine penetrates with their heart, and then they breathe out through their heart. And so that's how you would keep the poles and have like that polarity dance, that dance of the sex. After you do that for a while, and even, new people that I've, taken through that process, at a certain point, once you like get into it, you forget who you are. You forget how you're breathing. You're so in the moment. So that's why I say it's like, yes, and because it's more about getting into the flow of the energy. And then from there, the energy does what it does. And, it might feel like you're doing both.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most powerful like practices that I've experienced. Or I really had like a experience of sensing another person's just like energy without even like physically touching. And I just thought that it was a really beautiful shared experience. And yeah, it's like there's just like you found a rhythm. I think we experimented like calling through different chakras or energy centers too. But I love what you mentioned too, how the penetrative energy for the masculine and then receptive in the heart. I can't remember if it was Leola or someone else talking about or relating those, like that men tend to guard their hearts more, and then women tend to guard their yoni more because that's where their receptive pole is.
Yeah.
And so I just like that. Just
Even physiologically, the body is mimicking and in alignment with that. So when you look at the physical body, the physical body on the masculine, the part that is coming out the most is their lingam, right? And in the feminine, their breasts are coming out, right? And so that's where the energy is going. Life force energy is moving out through. And so, yeah, it totally makes sense.
Yeah, it's like where we feel more vulnerable in a way, whether it's emotionally, physically, energetically, if someone was any more protective of those things. That's why it's also like such a beautiful practice, is because there's like an intention to move the energy and be open and share it in that capacity.
It's all of the above.
Yeah.
Because, a male body can also be in the feminine pole and receive through their, through their sex. But yeah, there is that, it's a biological thing as
Mhm.
well, but and emotional.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I love too, yeah, those, or like touching on like the masculine and feminine energy, because I believe like we all have both
Mhm.
and like can tap in or tune into one or the other, right? Or like create this inner union of the two.
Mhm.
At least I know that's one of the things I took away from that is was that my masculine energy for a long time was serving as a protector for my feminine.
Mhm.
Like maybe in the go overdoing or in the hyper independent or like the that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, and so I guess I felt more safe to soften or be.
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole subject.
We could go.
Um,
There's no rules here at
in
Sex, Drugs, and Soul, and if there are, we've been them.
That's right. Uh, yeah, I mean, a lot of people get into this polarity thing, and
Mm-hmm.
I think there's gifts to it.
Mm-hmm.
There's it, and sometimes it gets too rigid. It's like a man should be like this, a woman should be like this, and there's truth to it at its core. But I think what I find more interesting is when we own that inside of ourselves, which I
Mm-hmm.
think you were pointing towards, which is that yes, you do need a masculine that holds the structure, that creates safety, that observes without judgment, as much as you need a receptive feminine
Mm-hmm.
that is in their softness and in their love and care. But I really believe it's an inside job first. If it's not right here, like that sacred union,
Mm-hmm.
what I see is that you end up polarizing and projecting it out there. So if
Mm-hmm.
I don't have my feminine in the right way here, what often happens is I polarize it and I magnetize and I create and project and attract the one that the version I have in here. And
Mm-hmm.
if she's not healed in here, that's gonna show me,
Okay, yeah.
is what I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I believe it starts in here. And the more we do the work to get into sacred union and to be our perfect lover, our perfect match, our perfect friend, the best as possible, then it will match out there,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because we can only attract what we are,
Mm-hmm.
and I could be the strongest masculine, but if my feminine isn't being cared for
Mm-hmm.
internally, um, I mean, I've just seen it time and time again, both from personal experience and working with people, that is really always in here.
Mm-hmm.
And so I always point people to come inside,
Yeah.
because like you said, we make the rules, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when people start making rules about how people should be,
Mm-hmm.
um, and put people into boxes, I think it creates more unnecessary stress, more division of the sexes.
Mm-hmm.
And, I don't believe that serves anymore. We're in the Aquarian age.
Yeah.
And for me, that means from being separate, individuated identities, to we're all in the same pool together. We're all in the same aquarium. You know, we are coming to a place where we're all one. And the more we can collapse the polarity
Mm-hmm.
and go to the place where we are in this shared experience as humans rather than different, um,
Yeah.
I feel we're gonna get to the point faster,
Mm-hmm.
because what's drama? I mean, this is my higher vision of drama. Is like drama is just there to teach us how to get back to peace. You
Yeah.
know?
Like the contrast illuminates type of thing.
Yeah, but we've been hijacked, and all of our senses are attuned to, like, oh, the excitement of drama,
Mm-hmm.
um, that comes from an unfulfilled place,
Mm-hmm.
which is why we go to drugs and sex, you
Mm-hmm.
know, because there's something missing. We haven't found that union inside.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd say at the highest level, when we're doing self-practice, it's to come to that place inside.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so whether we're doing energetically, another way that you can do that is self-pleasure,
Mm-hmm.
the physical act of making love to ourselves, uh, which doesn't have to be masturbation per se,
Yeah.
but it's more like an attunement with the whole body as an
Mm-hmm.
erogenous zone, where we're using that same breath, moving the energy in our body, but now moving it through our whole body and uh, really meeting ourselves in a way that we want to be met.
Mm-hmm.
Right. To me, that's where the magic happens with this kind of work, where it's not really about the other person, right? The other person is just there. Everyone's just meeting us where we're at. So the more we can be in like a loving,
Mm-hmm.
connected, respectful place with ourselves, that inner harmony with our physical body, with our emotions, our mind, the more that is simple.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you've spurred so many things as you're talking, like everything from like the outer being a reflection of our inner to how we'll seek things outside of ourselves if we don't feel that peace. Well, there's a part of me that's like, what if that inner harmony is created and you're still curious or you still want to like explore and have fun being a human. Whether it's through like different sexual substances or psychedelics or breath work or like, different states of consciousness to explore. But and I also love that you mentioned like self pleasure. And for me, I've had some powerful, like different rituals. Like I explored with a pleasure mapping one take. And I think it's meeting myself with a certain level or degree of reverence and sacredness too. And being curious about like, okay, what types of touch do I like, or what temperatures do I like different objects? As far as like, a feather or like an ice cube or some kind of like metal chain thing. And then just being like real curious and like, how would I want a lover to touch me? Well, I'm going to meet myself with that same level of like care, tender love and care. Um, so I love like kind of that as a practice too, and incorporating like the tools that you mentioned too, like breathing, sounding, moving. Yeah, I just found it was really um, not only pleasurable but also um, getting to know my body, like getting to know my body in a way that felt very deep and intimate too. I mean, it's like how do I expect someone else to do certain things if I am not as aware of different zones or aspects or things that I like or are pleasurable. Um, yeah. And then, yeah, it's interesting. There's been times where I meet people, I'm like, what is this showing me about myself too? And like being curious. I think though a lot of times we want to like define or assign things so that we'll feel more safe, whether it's like conscious or unconscious, or try to put people in boxes, although I don't know if anyone really can live in just one box or identity. I feel like they mesh and colors bleed outside the lines and that sort of thing. And I think too, like I love what you said about like, yeah, looking for our commonality, like recognizing like we're all humans here, like doing this human thing on earth. So how can we collectively treat one another better and treat our planet better? So we can create a more harmonious environment. And I know before we were able to like hop on recording, you were talking about like transformation and how, and you can speak to this too, how you feel about like we're kind of in the fourth quarter. Like, we came here, I think, to not only witness, but to contribute into the evolution to the Aquarian age, the greatest show on earth. Like, are we going to do it? Um, I believe that, but and then there's also a piece of me, like there's so much chaos going on. And there's a little quote, I think, by Deepak Chopra that provides me a sense of comfort in these chaotic days is that all great change is preceded by chaos. Um, and then I feel like the more that we can create our inner harmony environment, that's going to be reflected too.